Good evening, traders. This is MR Strategies on the 2nd of June, getting ready to kick in into the heat of the summer trade. And going to be interesting to see where what we do. This market continues to challenge these contract highs in ES at around 42, let's just call it 42.40. And the Dow, which spiked early in the week, actually on Tuesday, right after the long holiday, Memorial Day holiday, they got super jacked and they really rammed them up to about 24.8 and change, a little bit shy of their highs. And as it stands right now, price wise, all markets are sitting relatively nicely above all their moving averages, and you can see briefly here with the ES, and we can't. We seem to keep holding 95. That's been the case pretty much this week as well. And they gave you a bonus opportunity on Tuesday. This is a unbelievable opportunity, guys, of an overbought market on Tuesday morning. I mean, ramming them into the contract high. I mean, once again, you're challenging a market to hold those levels after running up as much as they did, and you saw the results. And this is what I talk about so often: is price just gets a little bit blown out of proportion, and what's going to sustain it up there? And this is an unbelievable short, and you can see the result. It just pretty much paid off in the first hour, and rest was just consolidation. And they tested the support levels, which is pretty much what we've been doing for these last few days. And you're going to keep, as long as we hold the 95 or the 95 to 90 area, I think you're going to be in pretty good shape. But I also believe that this market needs to prove that it can get above these highs of 42.40, and you're just going to have to pay attention to it, and you're going to continue to, in terms of my strategies, and what I like to see is you got to sell into the weakness at these higher highs, and the same would hold towards these extensions to the downside. The market's strong. They continue to hold 4,200, which is the benchmark level. And as long as they continue to hold that, I believe that they're probably going to continue to push higher and probably make another high. But, let them prove it to us. And until then, you got to just trade what they give you. And when the market gets a little out of whack, like it did on Tuesday, you have to take advantage of that opportunity. And the market did confirm um, on this session fairly nicely. Let me pull this up and take a look at the intraday activities of this day, and let's just see how this played out. Because I took advantage of it. In fact, I think the signal was really strong up there, and it set the tone for the next few days. In fact, let me get to this. Bear with me. I've been off a little bit. Last week was pretty much a non-event in terms of trading. I didn't do much last week. It was an inside consolidated session all week. The market was low volume. There was very little interest. It's the summer, and I think we're going to be challenged as we continue to try to make contract highs. And I think there's going to be a lot of great opportunities to short the market at those levels. And then you're just going to have to lean on the support areas. I believe somewhere underneath 77 could probably roll this thing a little bit. I do believe there is a gap down there, but I'm not 100% sure. Um, this right here was the big move on Monday, and on Tuesday, and take a look at this. Market rallied, and it pretty much rallied all night, and they ran them up from 4,200 to 4,230, and then you got this great signal. And once again, this is a signal that's really significant in this platform. Like for example, you can see the turns here usually go, a transition usually goes to from a blue or red, whatever turn there is, and you'll get a couple yellow bars, which is a slower transition turn. But whenever you get, in terms of this platform, a solid blue reversal to a red is a pretty strong indication this market's going to roll. And this was an absolute golden short. I took this on Tuesday morning and I was done within, I think, within the hour. And you can just see the results of that. Look at that. They went from 42.30 all the way down to 12, and I believe the gap was down around 4,200 and oh 02, and they pretty much gave it to you. This is another opportunity to get short. I stayed with them. I felt that they're going to fill the gap, and that's eventually what they did. They came down here. The numbers were irrelevant on Tuesday because of the holiday weekend, and the range was so small that you can see how tight they were, and you're pretty much on your own in terms of the trade. And you could see that they bottomed out, and this has been the key support pretty much for this week, and it pretty much makes sense because give me a second here. I'm going to pull up. You can see right here this 95 area is your 9MA, and the 18 is sitting right down here at around 4161. So, until we break structure underneath 90, you know, you're going to want to look for the opportunities to get long, and that's in terms of if we get a gap lower. I think right now we're trying. The market's trying to rebuild, and I don't know what the catalyst is that's going to take us to these higher highs, but you can see that whenever we reach any type of extension, they pretty much roll. And you could kind of see how these levels are playing out throughout the week. I think this was the pivot yesterday, somewhere around oh 07, I believe. I'm not 100% sure. Let me take a look at today's session to get a better read. Yeah, the pivot was all the way down to 94. I don't think we got there. Um, it looks like it got there overnight, but we never got it in the intraday session. So, you can see even when Europe opened up here around 2 o'clock, they still couldn't take it out. So it shows you once again the significance of the moving averages and how important it is to price and whether or not they're going to challenge it. And you can see they're disrespecting it, and you can see the activity here on Wednesday and how it just once again it keeps faltering as it continues to go up, and I think you're going to continue to see that because I think it's having a hard time finding people to jump on board and run this market higher. But you have to respect it, and at any time they can build and just take off. You could just see it's consolidating right here, and it's holding structure. So the high contract high is within striking range, and I would expect it to maybe get up there. And I keep an eye also on the Dow. I think the Dow, you want to keep an eye around this 34 460 number. Um, you can see right here. Hold on, I'm showing you something. So give me a second. Uh, Camera. So right here, you can kind of see how the Dow is kind of holding on a little bit as well. Well, it's a little lower than my expectations from before, but let me swing this over here and let's take a look at the Dow chart because these are the moving average daily MAs right here at 34 460, and the big one is down here at 34 253 with key support at 34,000 even. That's the big number. So, as long as we hold up here in these moving averages, these are going to be buying opportunities if you get them early in the session. So you're just going to have to see how it plays out. Once again, we're in these tight trading ranges now, and the market's trying to find a catalyst to take out these contract highs. So I just don't know what it's going to be. It's the summer. I just think the market is, most likely going to take them out. But once again, I think your opportunities are going to be plentiful, and I think there's going to be some great shorts available to you in terms of the market running out of steam at these contract highs or making new highs. You have to look for those opportunities because I just think it's going to be difficult to sustain them. I'm not sure 100% sure that, that this market is ready to hold on to these levels. In fact, this market has factored in so much good news that I believe that you're going to start seeing this market start to take into account of anything inflationary and prices running up, let alone the possibility of them raising rates, which is definitely going to be coming into play at some point. And the market, like always, is going to factor that in beforehand, pretty much like how this market has rallied for the longest period of time based on all the great earnings that we expected and and keeping money easy and cheap and keeping rates low and being able to stimulate the real estate market and everything else. And that's been really great for the market. But I believe you're going to start seeing the effects of inflation and higher rates. And I think a lot of traders are going to be paying attention to this, and you're going to want to watch how the markets relate to that, and it will factor in. So just something to keep an eye on. I can't pinpoint any of this. I don't want to you know provide this type of analysis and get you guys all uh, geared up to the short side. I always believe that the market's got to prove to you what they're capable of sustaining in terms of these price levels. And, the market has been eating up all this news and been rallying to no end. And like I said, I think it's inevitable. We're going to be raising rates. At some point, they're going to have to do it just to keep inflation intact. They're going to, at some point, start to raise rates and pull and tighten things up a little bit. And the markets are going to react to that. And most likely, they're going to start selling off a little bit. So, keep an eye on that. You know, I'm not an economist. I pay attention to a lot of these things, and you know, I always believe that the markets always factor them in, and the news is already in the market. Has this come into play? Not just yet. So all you can do is trade the trend. The trend's strong. You're in a bull trend. You have been in a bull trend for a long time. You could just see how often this market, whenever it's sold off, it's just gets eaten up and they just buy the value and run it up. So, once again, to me, it's about can we sustain these higher levels through the summer? We're just going to have to see. So that's it. That's the analysis I basically can provide for what we've seen. Like I said, last week was consolidation. You can just see all of this right here. This market's been in a tight range. 215 and to 41.95 has been the range. So you're just going to want to pay attention to the breakouts of these locations and key off the daily pivot as usual. That's always an indication of the early day session and or the early 15-day moving averages, which let's take a quick look at those and see how those might play out for you guys tomorrow. Like I said, we're overnight. Anything can happen, so there's not much to make out of it. DMAs are sitting right now around 4208.09, and that's where your moving average. That's where your uh, daily pivot I think is for tomorrow. Let me take a look. It's oh 06, and like I said, the key number is 95, and that'll be your first key support. Let me see where that is in terms of support. Yeah, you can see all the levels now are coming in at those numbers, and that's nice when they line up like this. So your S1 first support levels 41.95. That's all yours, also your daily MA as well. And I believe your upper resistance is 15, which has been the high we have not been able to take out. So I would watch that. Sooner or later we might just blow out this whole upside. So, you want to be on board, but, you want to get it for the value areas. And, let's see how this plays out in the morning. And, what, we'll take it from there. So I'll try to come in early in the morning tomorrow and take a look at it, see where we're at before the bell, and see if I can give you a little more clear cut uh, play for tomorrow. But when you're in these bull trend accelerations, it's always important to pay attention to the pivot and your moving averages to start your trading session. Always. And how well price handles it. And you can just see it is what it is. It just always plays out that way. And when you're above it, price accelerates, and when you're below the averages, price tends to uh, taper off a little bit. So that's what you're going to want to watch for tomorrow's session and for the rest of the week, and see whether or not this thing can build and take off. It's a short week. We're at Thursday already. I want to see if the market's going to give us a telltale sign of whether or not we are going to take off and blow these highs out, or whether or not we're setting up for a little more of a sell off. So stay tuned, guys, and take advantage of the extreme locations. And, once again, let the market prove to you what they're going to do, and take the signals when they present themselves. So have a great session, guys, tomorrow, and I'll check in with you later. Have a great night.